So this last week has been a week of strong contrast. I made this video before, but my camera died in the process, and the other video was actually really drawn out and rough. I had done it several times, just couldn't get my thoughts straight. So redoing it several days after the fact. So last week, strong contrast. I met a businessman who is incredibly well off. Owns tons of companies, a whole bunch of franchises, and is just kind of has anything he wants type of guy. And he's putting together another business, and thought I'd be a good, someone thought I'd be a good person for him to know. So we, got introduced because of my interest in wine, and may end up doing something with them in the future. I'll see how that goes. So we actually got kind of wined and dined. He introduced me to someone, and we all ended up going to dinner. They covered the bill, and it was an incredibly great steak dinner. And then afterwards, we went to a hostess club. Not as risque as I expected, but still very entertaining. More girls than guys there. Everyone's chatty and talking, and so nice. You even got little gifts on your way home, and I got a follow-up phone call the next day saying, "We hope you come again." And then after all that, we went to a jazz bar, and they covered the whole evening, and this guy's just got everything. And then the contrast to that was Saturday night, just having a quiet night around the house, was taking out some recyclables, and as I'm going down in the elevator, the door opens on one floor, and no one steps in. I just hear this voice outside, a really meek voice that says, "Someone there?" And so I said, "Yeah," and I hold the door open button, and holding the box of recyclables, and this woman who I've seen around is there, and she's, her spine is completely bent over. She's like looking at her feet when she walks, and she stops and looks up, and just, I've seen her around quite a few times, and she always struck me as someone who kind of was barely making it by on her own. And she was there with crutches, and she had a skirt on. You could see her ankles were just incredibly swollen, and there were bruises all over her legs, or just stagnant blood pooling in her legs. It took her almost a full minute to get into the elevator, and she was just moving so slow and seemed so out of it. Seemed underdressed for the weather. Barely carrying anything. And we get to the bottom. I hold the door open for her again, and she gets out. And she just kind of rests in the entryway. And I was like, she's going somewhere. I should do something. I don't know if I want to get involved. So I came back upstairs, and I got my wallet, got my keys, got my cell phone, got my hat, put on proper shoes, and I took out the garbage, went back down. In that time, she'd made it about 20 feet. It was almost 15 minutes between when I left and when I came back down. But I wasn't surprised that she hadn't moved that far. So I asked her, where she was going. She said she was going to check into a hotel. She really looked like she needed to go to, assisted living or a medical clinic or something. But she had said she had already made reservations, and if she could just get to a taxi, she'd probably be okay. And that's what she was thinking. And so I tried to help her along, and that just wasn't enough. So I ran to the maintenance department, and got them to loan me a little dolly, not a dolly, but a wheeled cart. And I brought that back and had her sit down on the cart. Another woman who was nearby, when she saw me helping out, she came over too. She carried the crutches as I wheeled this woman over to the taxis. And I had to pick her up. There was no way she was standing up on her own. She could barely sit up on her own. She was just so fragile. I don't think she could weigh anywhere near, so light, so fragile. I was afraid to break her when I picked her up. She must be 35 kilos, if that. Just so small. I helped her into the taxi, and I said, "Are you going to be okay when you get there?" And she was like, "I hope the staff will help me or something." And I got to go with her. So I returned the cart, hopped in the taxi, and we went to the hotel. And it was a really nice hotel, really upscale hotel. But at the same time, I looked at it, I was like, that's kind of got to be out of her budget, you know. And she had made a reservation for a week. I got them to bring down a wheelchair. After going to, you had the little bellhop station out front, the downstairs concierge, the upstairs concierge. No one was there. I had to go all the way to the front desk. I got them to bring down a wheelchair and got her checked in. But it was such, you know, and she of course wanted to know my name and where I live, and said, you know, if I get better, I want to take you to dinner or something. I said, you know, whatever, sure. But to see someone who has so much at one point in the week, you know, he's close to his family and just exorbitant wealth, and kind of does whatever he wants, and in great health, and this woman who has, you know, nothing, you know, she can barely sit up straight, let alone walk herself to the elevator to get a taxi. You know, she wasn't carrying anything because there was no way she could carry anything. She didn't, you know, I don't know what happened to her. You know, I'm sure I helped out some, but I don't know if that was enough. And she's checked into the hotel, but that was, you know, she didn't have luggage, she didn't have a change of clothes, you know. So it was just actually that was a really rough experience. And afterwards I, you know, tried to make a video about it, and seeing so many people walk by, and you know, Japan's a society where a lot of times people don't interfere with stuff. They don't, you know, they'll see something, they'll just kind of leave it. So, you know, they say it's for personal space, and you kind of ignore what the other person's doing. And they'll take note, though. If you ask Japanese people, they'll notice things, but they often won't interact with them. They won't say anything. They won't look. They won't visibly be looking. You can tell that they take notice. But no one else was helping her. I guess I got some other young people to help at the hotel when I was helping her get out of the taxi. But a ton of people passed her in the lobby here, and you know, she doesn't seem like she's got anyone helping her out. So it was a rough experience. But you know, the fantastic dinner at the beginning of the week was a great experience. So it was highs and lows, and interesting to see overall. I guess I'll do an update if I see her again, when I see her again, hopefully soon. Hopefully I'll just see her in the lobby and she'll be doing much better or something, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna get going.